These past days, some meat dishes have been baked and painted, some texts have been embellished and ornated, some writing corners have been reorganized in the bedroom, a donkey skin kitchen have been painted and decorated, and some old French fairy tales have been studied and compared. Spring eventually arrived in my town. I didn't plant too many flowers for now, just a few seeds and things I had from last year, and some forget-me-nots, and another flower which would require a bit of shadow. But I found these two very nice braided willows. I had never seen such little trees before, and I thought it was so much fun. So it's the same willow which is used to create baskets and things like that, but here they are sort of basket trees. With this new season, I wanted to reorganize a nice morning writing corner in the bedroom. I had a small table, but it was very, very small, so I put another piece of wood on top of it to make it larger and dressed it with nice old doilies and tablecloth made by my great-great-grandmother. It reminds me a bit of a writing corner like the one Emily Dickinson had. And I also found this beautiful branch of roses. So it's all the roses come from the same branch, and I found it in a floral shop in my town. And they are very inexpensive this way. You just have one branch of roses. But with a bit of greenery around, it looks like a real bouquet, though it's just one stem of roses. I changed my bedsheets to have some nice old embroidery bedsheets and pillowcases also made by my great-great-grandmother. So everything is matching in the bedroom. And I recently actually bought a new iron. It was much required. I had my old one for about 20 years, or at least for sure 15 years. And I also started to play with starch, and I absolutely love the result you have when you iron doilies and all the linen for home and for tablecloth, for bed. It really makes a huge, huge difference. It's just perfect. And it's extremely satisfying to iron a perfect doily with no wrinkle of any kind. It just gives a lot of satisfaction, to my opinion. It's just the perfect writing corner now to write letters, to journal to, and I'm going to have nice flowers growing in the boxes too, so I think it's going to be really nice for the spring-summer season. In the studio, the beautiful spring sunshine is now coming in the room in the afternoon, and it makes the space very cheerful and very, very nice. I just struggle to go out during the afternoon. I'm so nice and comfortable in this room. It's the perfect temperature. During the summer season, it gets too hot in the afternoon, so it's just unpleasant. I have to use the curtain to protect me from the sunshine, but right now it's really, really nice. It's just perfect. Here I'm working on the back of the King Rum card, which is going to be one of the 2 cards of the new spring stationery collection, and I'm painting and drawing letters and embellishments around the text, which is a little excerpt of the fairy tale. I painted a fairy tale kitchen, the kitchen for Donkey Skin, where she's preparing the cake for the prince. Quelques auteurs ont assuré que Podane, au moment que ce prince avait mis l'œil à la serrure, les siens l'avaient aperçu, et puis que, regardant par sa petite fenêtre, elle avait vu ce prince si jeune, si beau et si bien fait que l'idée lui en était restée, et que souvent ce souvenir lui avait coûté quelques soupirs. Quoi qu'il en soit, Podane, l'ayant vu ou en ayant beaucoup entendu parler avec éloge, ravie de pouvoir trouver un moyen d'être connue, s'enferma dans sa chambre. Jeta sa vilaine peau, se décrassa le visage et les mains, se coiffa de ses blonds cheveux, mit un beau corset d'argent brillant, un jupon pareil, et se mit à faire le gâteau tant désiré. Elle prit de la plus pure farine, des œufs et du beurre bien frais. En travaillant soit de dessin ou autrement, une bague qu'elle avait au doigt tomba dans la pâte, s'y mêla, et dès que le gâteau fut cuit, s'affublant de son horrible peau, elle donna le gâteau à l'officier. So here is the decor for the kitchen of Donkey Skin. There is the fire, of course. She has baked the cake, the flour, the eggs, piece of fabric, window, and there is a cat and some dresses. I didn't spend too long painting all this because, well, we only see that in the background, especially the dress. I was tempted to do another dress and to do something really nice, but I thought, no, I need to stop here. It's always the temptation to add more and more for this first step of the Donkey Skin for the stationery collection and for the card. She's going to be one of the two cards. I needed to be limited in the time I would spend on everything, so I just stopped here. I have finished though all the finishes on the character, the outfit. The last time you saw her in a video, she was not entirely finished. Now she is. There was a lot of little details here and there which were not done, which take usually just as much time as building everything and creating everything. The finishes are very long, but they're very necessary too. So they are not spectacular. That's the thing. You can do a lot of things, and from the camera, the screen, you wouldn't see really a big difference, but in the flesh you would see, of course. And this way I'm sure I can manipulate her in every size and there is not one thing which needs to be hidden. So she was entirely finished and I had quite a lot of fun painting her decor. I quite love doing these decors in a realistic way where you add all the rest, realistic details, the kitchen tools. I could have added way more. As I say, for this first step I had to stop and just to be happy with that for now. I have other things to do. I didn't finish to paint the background for the sheep, for the ram, and I have a lot of other things, of course, to draw and to paint for the collection. There is a trunk here with a cat, and the trunk is a trunk which is magical and follows her anywhere she goes. And there are all her beautiful princess jewelry, dresses, and the fairy made her a magical trunk so that she can have all her belongings following her under the earth. So it's following her wherever she goes under the earth, and then the trunk magically appears. So I'm taking the photo here. I think I'm quite happy, and I have drawn a background too just to put on top of it, but you will see that when the card will be ready. I have already done it. I'm quite happy. I think the colors will work well together. But yes, this was just the final step of taking the photo, and I will be good. The fairy tale of Donkey Skin by Charles Perrault was inspired by a real story, a real legend from the first years of the Christian era. Colin de Plancy, in the book I bought earlier this year, I've shown you this book, talks about the legend of Saint Deepne. It probably has a different pronunciation in English. It was a legend of an Irish princess and whose father wanted to marry her. So she also, just like Donkey Skin, asked him a lot of very precious and rare presents. And at the end, the very end of the story, unlike Donkey Skin, who is going to have a happy ending, marry a prince, and Charles Perrault has prepared a very happy ending for her, in the real legend, she's going to be killed by her father, who is going to follow her to Belgium. Colin de Plancy tells us that her relics are now kept at Cambrai. So, and also in Belgium, it seems there are different places, both in the north of France and in Belgium, where you can see what remains of her. It was inspired by a real story, as many of his other fairy tales. We will go in my Charles Perrault video coming soon. I will go into the more details of the inspiration he had for the fairy tales, some that you know, which afterwards have been readapted, transformed, changed by the Grimm's brother, and we are going to go into more details for one or two of them. We are not going to do a deep study on all of them, but a few of them, so that you understand the difference and what the Grimm's brother have changed, actually. Because there is this idea that the Grimm's brother have just removed the cruelty from the fairy tales and have made them more suitable for children and removed the 17th century cruelty. It's a little more than that they have removed. They have left a lot of cruelty too, so it's not totally true to say that. They have divided some fairy tales in two parts and made them in two fairy tales when Charles Perrault had focused on and concentrated everything in one fairy tale. They have removed the delicacy, the nuances, the humor, the refinement, the elegance, which was very important as important ingredients in his fairy tales, and that's a shame. And I wanted to talk a little more about that, and we will see that in the video about Charles Perrault, because I think it's a bit unfair that internationally the Grimm's fairy tales are more known now. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Little Red Riding Hood, after the Grimm's adaptation than the original Charles Perrault's version, when there were some very beautiful things which have been completely deleted once they were adapted. Historical details, for example, are all deleted by the Grimm's brother. They wanted to make them very 19th century, so they removed any flavor of the 17th century, but also a lot of elegance, a lot of beautiful ideas Charles Perrault put here and there, and the Grimm's brothers, they didn't care about that, and they didn't care about the humor either. Charles Perrault had a very good sense of humor, and he put a bit of humor in all his fairy tales, and the Grimm brothers, they changed that completely. They removed all of it, so we will see that, and I will give you some comparison so that you can understand what you are missing when you are only reading the Grimm's version. Il ôta tout doucement Chat Bleu, il s'assit dans le fauteuil et le mit sur lui. Personne ne voyait Lutin. Comment l'aurait-on vu? Il avait le petit chapeau rouge. La princesse mettait perdreau, caïto, faisant dos sur l'assiette d'or de Bleuet. Perdreau, caïto, faisant dos disparaissaient en un moment. Toute la cour disait « Jamais Chat Bleu n'a mangé d'un plus grand appétit ». So here it is Chat Bleu from the story Le Prince Lutin by Madame de Noix. She wrote at the same time than her other fairy tales in 1697. And here I have painted several dishes. So those I've painted them simply on paper, and they can stand like that. I wanted to mix both some volumes and sculptures and also some drawings and some 2D elements, just because it helps me save time. It's quite fun to do too. I want now really to mix a bit everything. using usually the same paper, but in 3Ds or in 2Ds, and the same paint, the same colors, everything, but it just allows maybe a bit more creativity. It also allows me to save a bit of time, because doing something like that in volumes, in paper, would take a huge amount of time for not amazing difference than painting it for this purpose. Le Chat Bleu belongs more to the kitchen side of the new spring printable stationery collection, so there is mainly a spring theme and also a few elements for your kitchen, and I chose several stories which have some elements with food and meals and dishes, and here Chat Bleu is wondering what he's going to eat. He has a lace napkin, as it's written in the story. He has a little bell. He's supposed to have some pearls and everything. I'm probably not going to do all that, but here he is totally following the description of the story. And for the dishes, les perdreaux, I totally found inspiration in my old cookbook from the 1920s. And there was some description of the very elaborated presentation they were doing. I'm not entirely sure if in the 17th century it was exactly like that. They were using some crawfish all the time just to enhance the meat and everything, which is a bit strange. I never saw like something from the sea decorating something from the earth, like any sort of meat or chicken or thing like that. And a lot of chicken comb or cock comb just to enhance things. So the little red thing is supposed to belong to some chicken head. I just there for the decor and mushrooms and different elements, but I thought that was quite surprising, and they always have things like that here in my book, always. So I added this, and there is a pie and different thing. He's not going to eat all of those because it's Lutin, the main hero of the story, who is going to eat all that because he's invisible. It's a pretty fun moments of the story. And here it's the King Ram. I still have few finishes to do, as I explained. I have things to do on the junction between the costume and the leg. Some buttons are missing, some ribbons. The wig needs to have a bit more work. So I'm just going to do that today. He belongs to the fairy tale by Madame Daunois, the Ram, who is a story of a king who has been turned into a ram by a bad fairy, because she was in love with him and he wasn't in love with her. And it's really the theme of the Beauty and the Beast, as Madame Daunois has explored this theme many times in her fairy tales, many years before the actual Beauty and the Beast fairy tale was published. So here he has some golden horns. It appears in the description, so I follow that. He will have some a little stick, and I've painted a decor around him. So he will be one of the cards of the spring collection. And this fairy tale was nice because it's both a spring fairy tale, and there is a part also which is linked to the food, because I wanted to have a kitchen theme too, as you will see. So this fairy tale was perfect for that, and it's just a beautiful story, very well written, very full of surprises and inventions, as Madame Daunois likes to do, but with an unhappy ending, I have to tell you. This Beauty and the Beast theme doesn't end really well here, but it's a beautiful story though. So I was pleased to re-explore it, and you will have it if you purchase the collection, because you will have the card of the Ram, and there will be a card inspired by the story, an envelope and a letter, a correspondence letter matching also this theme and this story, quite many things. And for Donkey Skin it's the same. They will have several things you could keep, you could send to your friends or correspondence, and all inspired by the same story. The stationery is going to arrive soon. You will be updated with that when it is ready. I hope you are enjoying this beginning of spring. We have now a beautiful blue sky, beautiful temperature. The tree on my garden side has exploded with flowers since yesterday. It was completely a winter tree since yesterday, and now it's all blooming. It's really beautiful, and it changes completely the view I have from my window, so it's really nice. Thank you very much for spending this time with me today. You can give a thumbs up if you appreciated what you saw. And you can subscribe if you don't want to miss all the nice videos coming. So my Charles Perrault video is going to come once the stationery is ready. I'm just going to finish to do it once the other collection is available, and it's going to be available on my website merveilleenpapier.com, but I will let you know when it is ready. Thank you, I will see you soon.